Welcome back to our continuing live gavel-to-gavel coverage of the George Zimmerman murder trial. The judge has dismissed the prospective jurors until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. But let me introduce the people involved that are bringing the trial to you right now. We have News 13's Kelly Cook, who is on site in Sanford. We also have our legal analyst, Jaya Balani from NeJame Law, all joining us also today. And let me just ask you, ladies, as we left, the P67 had asked for a a private audience with the judge and also with the defense, with the attorneys, both defense and prosecution. A little concerned about the length of the trial and a hardship it might put on him and his family. And it was very interesting to see Mark O'Mara, when he came up, really wanted him to understand the difference between a inconvenience and something destructive happening in his life, because all of the jurors are going to be impacted some way. Kelly.
Absolutely, Jackie. You're absolutely right. That was P67. He sent a letter yesterday telling the judge that this might be a problem. There might be a conflict here with him serving on this jury. In addition to what you mentioned, Jackie, he also said that his job would stop paying him after about 30 days, and that would also be an inconvenience to this family. Now, they have come to the conclusion the attorneys at this trial will last anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. So, technically speaking, he should be in the clear with his job as far as being able to get paid for the duration of this trial. But it seems as if being under the spotlight of the media is becoming a bit much for him. And earlier, when the first line of questioning began in round 2, he asked for a little privacy. Like you mentioned, Jackie, take a listen to what he had to say.
Could you tell me again why we cannot do this in private?
You want to do this in private?
If there's a way.
I'm sorry.
If there's a way that we can do this in private?
Yeah, we can try to ask the court, but this kind of stuff, unfortunately, the media is allowed to be present.
Yeah, that was the number one that I discovered, but...
Okay.
Okay, for jury selection process, it has to be in open court, open to the public. Mr. Zimmerman has a right to be there. The attorneys have a right to be there. So even if I were, when you say in private, it would just be me removing the other jury members. I cannot and will not clear the courtroom, and I can't take you in the back to do that.
Yeah, that had to be done in a public forum. But look, this could be pretty difficult when you're walking inside that courtroom and you see the cameras there and you see a full courtroom. They do have a right to be there. Let's bring in News 13 legal analyst Jaya Balani, who is standing by. So, Jaya, what do you think? Do you think the judge is going to listen to this particular juror's concerns and let him off jury duty, or do you think she's going to require him to continue on?
I think the judge is probably going to require him to continue on. He is getting paid for the first 30 days. He had the opportunity and to be in the first round to say what his hardship was, as he was afraid that he was going to be kicked out on the street. Now he's at the point where it almost seems like he's more intimidated by the cameras. It's going to be an inconvenience to him, like you stated before, and like Mark O'Mara pointed out. So I believe the judge is going to try to keep him on. Whether or not the defense or the prosecution uses one of their preemptories, that's the next question.
Yeah, it seems to be having a little bit of a change of heart, Jaya. I think it might be hitting home about that sequestration, that this is going to be limited contact. And at the end, Jaya, I know you saw there all the questions, a flurry of questions from those potential jurors. Oh, wait a minute, what does that mean? What does sequestration mean? Kind of give us a background of what life is like when you are sequestered in a jury.
It's going to be a big shock for them, of course, because they're used to living their everyday life, being with their significant others, spending time with their families and their friends. Everything they do now is going to be limited because the judge does not want any outside influence. She wants to make sure their emails don't have anything talking about the trial. You don't get any pop-ups when you go into your email, whether family members are calling and saying, no, this was done, this wasn't brought in. They have to be watched at all times to make sure there's no outside influence going to change their mind or give them something else that hasn't been brought out into the trial.
Yeah, they can have certain visits, certain phone calls. All of it has to be monitored. They'll have some scheduled visits as well. All meals will be paid for. It's a tough life, but it is a civic duty as an American. Jaya, please stand by. We have some questions just coming up in just a couple minutes. But just to let you know, some folks who are in the courtroom today, Jaya, I don't know if you noticed, but we had Zimmerman's parents who made their appearance for the first time since jury selection began. There you see on your screen Gladys and George Zimmerman Sr. There in the court. Sylvia really keeping a low profile, as well as her husband, Mr. Zimmerman Sr. However, George Zimmerman's father did write a book just last week that was released that you can just read there on the internet, but keeping a very low profile. The sister as well, Gracie, making her first appearance in court today. Now, we did get this statement from Robert Zimmerman, that being the brother, the older brother of George Zimmerman, who sent this statement to News 13. And News 13's Yvette Briswell, he wanted to let everybody know about seeing the family in the courtroom. Quote, despite safety considerations, the time was right to do what they could to visibly advocate for George's innocence. Our parents have avoided showing their face on camera because of numerous death threats directed at our entire family. Our parents have served as primary caretakers for our grandmother, Christina, for years. They also said Alzheimer's disease has left her requiring round-the-clock care and supervision. Going forward, security and other concerns are paramount, and our periodic absence from court should not be misinterpreted as a withdrawal support. Our position as a family has been clear and consistent since the night George was attacked. We are all sympathetic to the tragic reality of outliving a son or a daughter. However, George acted in self-defense. Self-defense should not be criminalized, and we stand by George because he told the truth. That, of course, is George Zimmerman's older brother, Robert Zimmerman Jr., who is not in court today, but was in court when jury selection first began. Let's bring in our legal analyst, Jaya Balana. Jaya, if you could join us again, and just your thoughts there about the family being in the court for the first time since jury selection began.
I think it's now getting down to the point where jury selection, it's not the mass amounts of people that are coming through there. It's actually down to the potential jurors that are going to be sitting on the jury panel who are going to determine their son's life. It's one of those situations where now they're trying to show their support, and it's sad at what they're going through. I mean, they have a mother or grandmother who's dealing with Alzheimer's. It's a lot to go through, especially when you feel torn, like you have to be between your son and your mother. So it's tough.
Yeah, it sure is. All right, Jaya, thank you very much. We also want to make note that Trayvon Martin's parents were also in the courtroom. Benjamin Crump, speaking on their behalf, sending out a tweet talking about how difficult it was to be sitting in the courtroom. Just imagine, just feet away from the man who admitted to shooting their 17-year-old son. It is deep emotions on both sides. Jackie, let's send it back to you.